When you see Jamie Dimon calling for 5%, originally it was 4%. I just wonder, that's one of those big throw-out numbers. I'm more focused on the fact that $78 billion of papers come into the market, the biggest quarterly refunding since 2010. That's a bigger headache for the market than, one of the beasts of Wall Street call, isn't it?
Yeah, it's possibly. The key thing is, from Mr. Dimon's point of view, is where he thinks, given current growth and inflation trends, long-term bond yields ought to head. If bond yields on 10-year got to 5%, I actually wouldn't be that troubled by it. I'm naturally inclined to be slightly hawkish. Certainly at this stage of the cycle, I prefer bond yields a little bit higher than they are. My guess is we'll break 3% around the turn of the end of this year and then get nearer 4% towards the end of 2019. My view is that bond yields, certainly at the long end, not just in the US, but certainly here in Europe, are simply not pricing in enough growth and inflation expectations. If that lasts too long, you'll get to a situation where bond yields, which are used to price other credit insurance products, will simply be too low relative to economic momentum. That's where you start seeing bubbles appear.
So this is a chart that just puts into perspective, then, Kallum, the 5% number that Jamie Dimon talks about there. He says rates should be 4% already, and 5% is where he thinks we should brace for. So that's where the red arrow points to the 5% level. So do you have some sympathy with him then? You think if the market is underpricing, if the market is not assuming enough inflation, that if there's more inflation, then rates should be higher than they are right now?
I completely have some sympathy with that view. If you simply take the view US nominal GDP growth is running at 5% now, roughly speaking, historically, there's been a pretty good correlation between the rate of annual nominal GDP growth and the 10-year bond yield. So relative to that 5% nominal GDP growth, bond yields are too low. Remember in the early 2000s, remember before the financial crisis, the Fed was talking about the conundrum. It was raising the short end, but the long end was sticky. It was staying too low. That seems to be happening again. I simply don't think we'll get to 5%, though I think it would be good if we started to gently head there.